Hi everyone and welcome back to another video and a new month. Welcome to May. This month we are looking at celestial soaps and all things celestial. So today we are creating moon phases soap. I love those pictures of the moon phases that you see with all the different stages of the moon throughout the month. So I thought I'd try and see if I can create that in soap for this week. So I'm starting out this soap as always by adding my lye water solution to my oils, and they are a little bit cool today at about 90 degrees. This soap is going to have a pretty solid black background to it, and I have previously made embeds for this soap which I'm going to pop into the soap. The background of the soap does need to support those embeds, so I want it to be pretty thick. I'm adding some activated charcoal to my soap here. I want the background to be very black like the night sky, and so I'm adding about 3 teaspoons, and then I'm using my stick blender to fully incorporate and disperse that into my soap and bring my soap batter to a nice medium to thick trace. Once my soap is at the trace that I want it to be and all of my activated charcoal is fully dispersed, I'm going to add my essential oil blend in. I want to make sure my soap is where I need it to be to start adding the embeds. One of the essential oil blends that I'm using today is going to make my soap move a little bit quickly, which is ideal for placing these embeds in with the multiple pieces that I'm using. But I do want to make sure the activated charcoal is fully incorporated. I'm using lavender, lemongrass and rosemary essential oil, which is a really nice calming scent combination. The lemongrass does make my soap move a little bit, so I'm going to pour that into my soap batter and disperse it with my spatula and make sure it's fully combined all the way through this soap. Now you can see I've brought my 2 soap molds in, and on the ends of those molds you can see the little white marks that I've placed, and that's where my embeds need to be sitting so that they're evenly spaced throughout my design. I'm going to pour in the first layer of this black soap background, and I have just put it into this red jug so that I can more easily place the background soap around the embeds. This is my first embed, the crescent moon, and I'm going to place those right at the edges of the soap, and I'm having them facing away from the center of the soap. So I'm placing those in, making sure they stand up correctly, and pushing those down a little ways into the soap so that the background soap can support those embeds. Once I have that first layer of embeds in, I am pouring some more of my background soap, and I'm pouring it right on top of the embed so that the soap gets down behind the embeds and doesn't displace them too much as I'm pouring it into the soap. So you can see with this one I'm taking my time with this first layer and making sure that that soap is really getting down between the embed and the edge of the soap mold to make sure I don't get any air bubbles in this first layer. And then I'm going to pour in some more soap just to fill my mold up to the top of those embeds. These embeds are going to be staggered and they're going to form a peak with the full moon at the top. Alright, now I've got that first layer all leveled up and you can see that it's covering the top layer of the embeds. I'm going to add in the second layer. This moon is a little bit more full, and I'm going to place that where my mark is on the end of my mold, and again place that about halfway down into the mold so that the soap will support it, but it isn't touching the first embed that I've placed it in. Now that those embeds are in, I'm going to again pour my background soap right on top of those embeds so that my soap doesn't displace them, and fill my mold up a little bit more so the soap level comes to the top of these embeds, and I can place the next layer of embeds into the mold. Now I created these first 2 layers of embeds by printing some extruder discs with the moon phases on them and some white soap dough that I've previously made, and extruded those to the right length. This is my half moon phase, and all I did was use some of the same white soap dough, rolled that out into a cane so it made a full moon, and then cut it in half to create the half moon. So I'm placing those in my mold again against my little marks and right next to where the previous embeds were. And again, I'm pressing those halfway into the soap so that the soap batter supports those embeds and stops them from moving around too much. I'm going to repeat the same process with my second mold. Add some more of my background soap to cover those embeds, and then we can move along and put the last embed in. And you can see how my background soap has set up quite nicely. It's still pourable, and yet it is supporting those embeds and stopping them moving around. So here is a look at the last embed, the full moon, and all I did was roll that out along my workbench until I got the right length and diameter that I was looking for. So I'm placing those right in the middle of the molds and making sure that they are below the top of the mold. Then I'm going to cover those up with some more of my background black soap batter and go ahead and level out the surface of my soap, making sure I've got the background soap into all of the corners. And I'm just using my spatula to move my soap batter around a little bit. It is still flowing quite nicely at this point. Alright, I have let my soap batter set up for about 10 minutes so that it is holding its texture, and I'm going to use the back of my spoon and bring the soap in from the outside edge towards the middle to create the texture that I make on the top of my soaps. I am only going to texture one side because I am going to create some little embeds to go on the top of this soap so that you know exactly what they are from the top. So I'm making the top embeds for this soap by using one of the soap canes that I previously created. It's set up for a little while, and I cut it into slices to make some crescent moons, and I'm putting one crescent moon on the top of each soap. And here is a look at the top. Alright, this soap's set up for a day, and it is now time to cut this soap. I cannot wait to see what the inside of the soap looks like and how those moon embeds lined up. So let's remove the sample pieces and take a look at the inside of this loaf. I'm thrilled with how those little moons have all lined up. You can really see the graduation from the crescent moon to the full moon right in the center. And those moons are sitting nice and upright, they're not angled or anything like that. I am thrilled with this soap, so let's take a look at the end result. Those moons just look great. The definition that I was able to get in the crescent moons is unbelievable. I am so pleased with how crisp they turned out, and the graduation from the crescent to the full moon. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next Tuesday.